Hello all, welcome back once again to another interesting episode under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav story series by Mama Music. Today I am going to talk about the most bravest and fiercest warrior which Indian history has known so far. The moment I say brave warrior, most of you will remember Chhatrapati Shivaji or Maharana Pratap Singh or somebody else. But there are few brave and fierce warriors from northeastern states as well, and he is none other than Lachit Borpukhan, who has held Ahom dynasty, win 17 wars with Mughals. So before we get to know the history of Lachit Borpukhan, let us understand what is the situation back at his time, so that you will be able to understand how has come, how he is fitted into this situation, and what changes he's made to the history. We all know that from my previous video, that Ahom dynasty started in 12th century, 1228 AD to be precise, and ruled the current Assam area, the greater Assam area, for almost 600 years, with their capital as Gurgaon, not the Guwahati, which is the current capital, my dear friends. Ahom kings ruled Assam, greater Assam, with Gurgaon as the capital because it eases the political administration for them when they are in the center of the state. And around 15th century, the Mughal Sultanate started expanding and making stabilizing their presence across India, pan India, right from north, south, east, west. And so they didn't want to leave the northeastern states also, because that is northeast states are the ones which provide the easy access to the Silk Road. And if they could go to Silk Road, then Mughal Sultanate can make a lot of money and can expand its territory like anything, isn't it? So, they were always eyeing on the northeastern states, and Assam is a gateway for all the northeast states. So that is the reason why they were kind of attacking Assam from the middle of 15th century so many times, and they were the wars were happening at such a frequent rate that sometimes it was very difficult to define the boundaries of a Mughal Empire or the Ahom Empire, because people used to push each other a little bit further that side and a little bit further this side, and the boundaries kept on changing very frequently. And during 1658, Aurangzeb took the reins of Mughal Empire at Delhi, and he felt that as his predecessors couldn't achieve conquering Ahom Empire, he is the one who should be doing it. And if he completes this huge task, his name will be written in the history, and he can make more and more money because it will give him the easy access to the Silk Road. So he immediately called his confidant Mir Jumlatu, who is the governor of the Bengal Sultanate, and asked him to go and occupy or conquer Ahom Empire. And at that point of time, the king of Ahom dynasty, Ahom Empire is Jayadh Singha. As soon as Mir Lattu heard his orders from Aurangzeb, he took huge army from the Bengal Sultanate, which is much bigger than the Ahom Empire's army, and entered into Assam through Guwahati, which is the gateway for entire Assam region, and started. First, he conquered Guwahati fort, and then started conquering small forts on the route, and finally reached the capital Gurgaon. And he tried conquering. He started a war with the Gargaon fort, and he tried to occupy the Gargaon fort. At that point of time, Jayadhvar Singha had to run away to the thick forest in Assam to save his life as well as the other royal family members' lives. And Mizumla too has captured the Gargaon fort, and when he wanted to get his empire stabilized there, he couldn't do so because of the onset of the monsoons. Assam monsoons are the most fiercest monsoons, isn't it? It would rain like crazy during the monsoon period, and Mizumla really got scared with the onslaught of rain because he didn't know what to do. The entire region is cut off. He couldn't move out of Gargaon, and he lost his connect with all the Mughal Sultanate or even the Bengal Sultanate. So he didn't know what to do. He was getting worried, and he was trying to find ways to come out of this totally chaotic situation. But on the other side, Jayadhar Singha got all the more confused and all the more, perturbed because he doesn't know how to come out of the situation. So he extended an armed treaty. He said that we all can sign a treaty, governance treaty, wherein we can be partners and all that stuff. So Jaiswal Singh signs a treaty with Mir Jumla in 1663, which defines Ahom Empire's boundaries near the Bhagirathi River, Bairagi River, and then not only that, I mean, he gives away major chunk of his treasure from his treasury to Mir Jumla too. Not only that, the most, I mean, unforgettable, shameful act which for which Vedant Singh has to agree in this treaty is to give the possession of his two minor daughters who are less than 10 years age, so that these two daughters, beautiful princesses, could be sent to Mughal harem for the future, so that Mughal harem. This is a very shameful act for Jayadar Singh, which weighed him down and pulled his, spoiled his mental health as well as the physical health. This act treaty has actually brought down the morale of the entire Ahom Empire, not only the army, the Panchamantri, and everybody, but the Assam public got totally demotivated and lost trust in the kings, and everybody was kind of going hither and there without knowing what is the direction where they can go. On As I told you. The king's health, the mental health, and physical health got spoiled. He was on the deathbed when he called his next successor, who is Chakradhar Singha, and extracted a promise from him saying that Chakradhar Singha will, basically capture all the territories which he has given it to Mughals in the form of the treaty. The Jayadar Singha has given it to Mughals in the form of the treaty, and once again integrate the entire Assam home empire and bring the unity back into them. And Chekadar Singh has a huge humongous task in front of him, and at the same time when Mm. Our main protagonist, Lachit Deka is his original name. Borkopan is the title of the post which he was handling before his death. Borkopan means Chief Army General or the Chief Admiral of the Ahom Empire. So this is the time when Chakra Singha took the reins of Ahom Empire. Our main protagonist, Lachit, steps into the story. Before we talk about his story, let us talk about his birth and his family, about his little bit about his family. Momai Tamuli Borbora is Lachit's father, and he was working as the commander in chief or the again Borpukhan. Well, not Borpukhan, but he was working as the commander in chief for Upper Assam under Pratap Singha's rule. Pratap Singha is the predecessor of Jayatwar Singha. So when that is the time when Lachit Deka was born in 1622, and as per the initial the constitution of the home in empire, or the ruling from the home empire, every from every family, one male heir should be working in the royal fort, isn't it? In the similar way, Lachit also started working in the royal courts of our homes. Right from his childhood, he started as working as the caretaker of the royal horses, then supervisor of the royal horses, then royal personal secretary to the king, the personal supervisor of the bodyguards of the king, the chief of the guards of the fort. So many roles he's played. And when the time has come for Chakradwar Singha to pick up the next board Bokan, he called the meeting from all the Panchamantris. I hope you remember from my last video that any post in a home empire will be done purely based on the merit selections and not because of the family right or the birth right. So when all the Panchamantri met to decide who would be the best next board open. Everybody suggested only Lachit's name because Lachit has already proved his mettle so far in the different roles which he's handled across the different departments. So Chakradhar Singha appointed Lachit as the next Borpukhan for Ahom Empire. And the new Borpukhan has such a, again, another huge task in front of him, just like the king. First, he needs to unite all the Ahom soldiers, bring up their morale, train them up in the new military skills like using the gunpowder, cannons, and all. All along, Mahomes are known to have used only spears, swords, bows, and arrows, and stuff like that. So he needs to train his soldiers on the new skills, and not only that, he has to lead his army so that they can capture all the forts which Mughal has seized during their last attack. He started working on it immediately as soon as he took the reins. New post as a Borpukhan, and he has a visionary king who is helping him, who is another Chakradhar Singha, and Chakradhar Singha knew that these Mughals will not keep quiet after the initial last attack, and they will start coming on again and again to take the entire Ahom empire in under their control. So he has extended an arm of friendship to all the northeastern kings like Jainita kings, Kasi kings, Manipuri queens, everybody, so that the Tripura kings, so that they all can form a union and start attacking Mughals as soon as Mughals come near their borders, near Guwahati. That gave Lachit a more solid base on the army front because he could learn new skills from these people as well. And at the same time, Chakravarti Singha actually encouraged more of agriculture and more of a business so that all the people can actually make more money by growing paddy and other things. So that if the country goes into war with the Mughals, they will have some food supplies to fall back on. Whereas Mughals have to get all their food back from the Indian subcontinent, isn't it? So that long vision of Jagadhar Singha and Lachit has really helped Assam in the future wars. Lachit in the year 1666, Lachit started from Gorgaon and started going all the way to Guwahati, recapturing all the small forts which Mizum Latu had earlier captured. And finally, he enters Guwahati and captures Guwahati fort in a surprise attack, which the Mughals never foreseen. And the Mughal soldiers ran back to Aurangzeb to tell him this news that they lost the Guwahati fort. When Aurangzeb inquired as to how they lost our Guwahati fort, all they could say is that they were only seeing the hedge tanks, uh, glitter, but they couldn't see who is behind it because the attack happened at such a lightning speed. They couldn't see any human being. It might be some spirit or a god or some supernatural power. But Aurangzeb got really annoyed because of course, he heard so many stories about the Assam gods who take human form to help them and all that stuff. This is the medieval period, right? So anything can happen at that point of time. But the wise counsel in Aurangzeb's mm, uh, court explained to him that if they are able to see Hengdang is nothing. Of course, Aurangzeb is hearing for the word Hengdang for the first time, just like you guys. Hengdang means it's a sword, famous Assamese sword, which has the sharpened edge on the one side and which can slit to a couple, at least two, three people's heads in a single shot. That's how sharp that sword will be. This wise counsel suggested Aurangzeb that Hengdang is there means there should be some soldier behind this Hengdang who can move at a lightning speed and who can who can kill and disappear at a very fast rate. Then Aurangzeb inquired, who is this chief of army or the army general of the Home Empire, for which the soldiers replied back saying he is Lachit Borpukhan. The moment Aurangzeb heard this news, Aurangzeb's anger knew no bounds. He said, if Lachit is a human, then he needs to pay with his life for the deeds which he has done to me by occupying the Guwahati fort. So he immediately called the Maharaja Ram Singh of Amber, who is his close friend, and asked Ram Singh to go and attack Ahom once again and conquer entire Ahom empire. No treaties this time. This Assam should be under Delhi Sultanate, but within a short span of time. So Maharaja Ram Singh started with his army from Amber, and his army has joined the Delhi Sultanate's army and the Mughals army or Aurangzeb's army in Delhi, and they started progressing towards Assam. As soon as Lachit Borpukhan conquered Guwahati Fort, in fact, I forgot to tell you the story. The Chakradhar Singha was very happy with this news and he asked Lachit to come back to the capital so that he can do the honors for Lachit and celebrate the victory of Guwahati Fort. But Lachit is the person who understands what lays in front of him and what can happen in future. So he didn't go back to the royal fort just to celebrate this victory, because he knew that these Mughals will not take this defeat in a silent way, and they'll come back pretty soon. And it will take a year to 6 months for them to come all the way from Delhi to Guwahati by walk, because at that point of time there are no aeroplanes and trains, right? So within that time, he should fortify all the borders of Assam so that these people cannot enter into Assam. That is when he said, like, he took the plains of Guwahati, and he said, I mean, not the plains, sorry, the mountain valleys of the Guwahati, and he asked his soldiers to build a mud wall between the two mountain ridges, so that the Mughal army cannot take the road path, but actually can take the how will be forced to take the waterways. And he knew that the Mughal army's navy skills are not at the peak, because their ships are really big and are not suitable for navigating through the and the Brahmaputra river, which is very mightiest river in fact, but still it is small when compared to the seas to which the Mughal army is exposed. So he could leverage this weakness of theirs and win the war pretty easily. So this is how they had built a mud wall between the two ridges of the mountains near Guwahati, so that the Mughal army cannot actually enter into Guwahati through the roadways, but have to take the Brahmaputra river to enter into Assam. Now, he knew what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses, and that way, and the place where he has chosen that the battle will happen with the Mughal army is Saraigat, where the Brahmaputra river itself shrinks in its width. You can see the such a narrow passage of the Brahmaputra river, isn't it? And he has placed bunkers on both sides of both the banks of Brahmaputra river, so that when the Mughal army enters through the river, these people can not only attack Mughal army from the waterways from this side, but they can also attack them from both the banks, which is a very wise decision indeed, because of which the Mughal army was stalled for more than a year or a year and a half in the Brahmaputra river basin itself near Saraigat, so that they couldn't advance. Wherever they are going, they are getting the attacks either on the land, on the banks of the Brahmaputra river, or on the middle of the Brahmaputra river. And finally, they reached a place where they were really frustrated. And Ram Singh tried bribing Lachit and Lachit's few confidence so that he can win the war. And Lachit never budged for this bribery or these um, uh, temptations, and so is the case with all his confidence. So what Ram Singh did is he has used one of his army soldiers to shoot an arrow to the military base of the Ahom Empire, that is the Lachit's base, where in the on that arrow there was a message tied on to the arrow which says, Lachit, since you have taken this 1 lakh Indian rupees, why don't ask your king to vacate Guwahati at the earliest, implying that Lachit has taken money from Ram Singh, which is not true, but it was a concocted fictitious story so that it will bring down the morale of the people. But none of them believed it, because just before this incident happened, Lachit has shown his mettle and his dedication towards the motherland in a different way altogether. As I told you, there were all these people were stationed near Saraigat for more than a year, right? One day, Lachit had told his uncle to take care of his soldiers and do some building the mud mounds task to his uncle, and gone out for some other work. And while he returned back in the evening, he learned that his uncle has not completed the task, but it was kind of sleeping. When while his uncle said that, I mean, this work could be done tomorrow, but he was so tired and he fell asleep. Immediately, Lachit took his heng dang and cut his uncle's neck in a single shot, and told that uncle is no bigger than the Ahom Empire or the motherland, because a task given to a soldier is a task that needs to be completed on that day at that point of time itself. There shouldn't be any postponement of the task, which showed his dedication and his devotion towards a home empire. And all the soldiers, king, everybody didn't believe the message which Ram Singh has sent to their military base in in a very fictitious manner. After a certain point of time, Lachit had fallen sick and he started taking rest in the equally for hills because he was not able to move. But in the meantime, some other people from not just from the main Ahom army, some commoners from the Ahom kingdom had given a loophole to Ram Singh, saying that this sandbank near Andhra Bauli sandbank has weak points, and these people can break Mughal army can break the sandbank. So as soon as they started advancing towards the sandbanks, uh, uh, Lachit immediately asked his people to get his boat ready, and he started coming in the boat, coming in the boat on those waterways, and seeing these huge mighty ships, which Ram Singh is making them advance towards the sandbank. Couple of the people, I mean, there will be weak hearts everywhere, right? Couple of the people in the home member started losing hope because they knew that Lachit is not doing well on one side. Second side, these huge mighty ships are trying to come, I mean, make their way forcefully into towards the naval base of the home empire. So they started losing their motivation to fight with this huge army. But Achit is the person who could understand his soldier's heartbeat in just like this. In an instant, he sat on. I mean, he made his friends carry him literally, and place him in the boat, much against the wishes of his doctors and the physicians, saying that he needs to be the leading this war from the forefront. And if somebody doesn't want to take part in this war, they can withdraw no matter what it is. He's going to fight this war, win this war, and if he loses his life in this war, people who are next to him can pass the message to Chakradar Singha that his Borpukhan has lost his life fighting against the enemies to safeguard our home empire till his last breath. Hearing these words, the home soldiers got the much renewed energy and motivation and started giving it back to Ram Singh, and Ram Singh had to retreat back because he couldn't, I mean, face this mighty attack from both the sides of the land, from the waters, and everything. And so Ram Singh had to flee away back via Guwahati back into the main subcontinent, and nobody could actually defeat Lachit Borpukhan. But unfortunately, because he stressed his body so much, even during his illness, Lachit Borpukhan has passed away within a couple of months after the Battle of Saraighat was won by Ahom Empire. And post this Battle of Saraighat, Mughals never dared to enter the Ahom Empire, and that is why Assam started celebrating the day when Battle of Saraighat was won by them the 24th November as the Lachit Divas, and since he is the most bravest and fiercest warrior known in Indian history, our Indian government has decided to give the Lachit's award, Lachit Borpukhan's award, to the best passing out candidate from NDA every year. This is how we're just remembering about Lachit's deeds, my dear friends. But we are not taking any lessons about his love of motherland, his dedication towards the king into our future generation. I hope you like this story. If you like it, please let me know your comments on this story. Let us meet tomorrow with another interesting story. Till then, bye bye.